So in a few years' time, probably within the next 100 years, when we develop superhuman artificial intelligence, there's no guarantee that it's going to be benign or kind of fit within our, that it's going to be compatible with extended human existence. So we need to worry about this. It's a real existential threat. There are possibilities like developing some sort of friendly AI, but this is difficult given that the AI will presumably be able to alter its own code. So another possibility that's often suggested is that we keep it in some sort of containment, in some sort of box. To restrict it, maybe just to a text terminal like this. So somebody will be able to communicate with this AI in the box. But that's risky. Humans aren't secure. But it seems difficult. I mean, you're just typing on a terminal. How is it going to convince you to let it out? The risk is that the AI is really superhuman. Well, by definition, this is like I'm setting it up like this. It's superhuman by definition. But you can just still say no to the AI, no matter what it says. So there's been this argument. Lots of people say, there's no way I could let it out, but let's run the experiment. And in 2002, an AI researcher called Eliezer Yudkowsky got this challenge from a computer science student, who was saying, basically, there's no way, there's no sequence of words you can type at me that will make me want to release you from the box. So they set up a challenge, they set it up on IRC, and Eliezer said he'd pay $10 if he's kept in the box. And the next day, this guy who was totally convinced that he let him out, and this is a digitally signed email saying, I let him out. Someone who'd said the day before, no, I'm not going to do it. It's kind of baffling. So the rules the AI was following, the AI player, I should say, was that, I mean, he could convince by any means necessary, no kind of ethical constraints on what he could say, but there were no real-world stakes, so he couldn't bribe him or really beat him up or give him a reward afterwards, and only voluntary release would count, so no sort of code words or something. He got another challenge in July, somebody saying, like, nothing on earth can persuade me to let you out. And really, he didn't have a lot to do. He just had to sit there and say, like, talk to this guy, but say no. When the next day, I let the transhuman AI. This is something that, at least within the constructs of the game, is superhuman, potentially malign, and he let him out. So we get to think about, I mean, why would you do this? But the gatekeeper's rules, he could resist by any sort of means available, any sort of logical argument or illogical argument. He could engage, but he had to engage for 2 hours. So he did have to sit there and type and listen and really engage, not just leave the keyboard. And he had to accept that the AI could offer anything. But the real interesting bit of the protocol is that nobody can ever reveal what went on in this AI box experiment. So it's an excellent mystery. So, of course, there was lots of speculation on the mailing list afterwards. What did he actually say? Eliezer, who was playing the UI, said, there's no super special trick. I just did it the hard way. He, of course, didn't explain what this meant. But he did sort of hint that it wasn't any sort of linguistic tricks, and it wasn't a sort of meta-argument that said, you should say I let you out so that to preserve humanity. Anyway, I mean, the AI could try to demonstrate good faith by like providing a cure for cancer or something like that, and at least within the context of the game, that should be accepted. He could threaten retaliation, maybe in the inevitable consequence that the AI will escape, but you can always say no. And when you listen to these arguments, when you try and invent these arguments for yourself, it's very difficult to think of ones that you couldn't just say no to. I hope by giving this talk that I get you thinking about, because it's an really interesting kind of thought experiment. So Eliezer ran 3 further experiments. One case, the AI was released, and then in the next 2, he started to lose, and he sort of said, no, I'm not going to do any more of these because I've become a bad loser, and I didn't like the sort of person I became. So I'm not sure if maybe that is just bad losing. But one nice thing he said is one of the key rules for doing the impossible is that if you can state exactly why something is impossible, you're often close to a solution. It's quite a nice idea. So you have 2 impossible pieces of homework. One is to state exactly why it's impossible to convince the gatekeeper to release you, and the other one is to invent some sort of friendly AI so that we don't get into this mess in the future. Thanks.